So last winter, I started developing a project that I had in mind for quite some time. I would say 4 to 5 years, maybe since I started studying in Vilnius Academy of Art. I, for the first time, had the chance to make this project happen. So the museum is called the Clothes Museum, or as I call it, the Clothes Archive. And it belongs to a man whose name is Michael, who is just an amateur archiver. He is based in Kaunas, Lithuania, and this is my hometown. And this man is collecting a lot of Soviet devices, a lot of all kinds of remains from the Soviet period of time in Lithuania. And I was very intrigued since the very first time I met this guy, which happened 8 years ago. And I thought that this is just like a perfect chance for me to get to know a little bit more of a time that I haven't really lived. Because it really always had to do with the history of my hometown. I visited Michael for the first time in November, and I thought I'm just gonna collect some material, but for me the most important thing from this visit was actually to get to know this person. I certainly would have maybe taken different kind of photographs and collected other kind of source material if I was thinking about painting beforehand. But this was really like my field research. This was my actual desire to get to know what is he doing and how he is archiving and how he's like living in the system that he created. Everything that I felt when visiting him, because that was just like a very intense experience. I would really call it time traveling. It really struck me because time really has stopped in 1982 at that place, and at the same time I thought this would be interesting for me to kind of see the story as sort of like an experience, to experience it rather than to just acknowledge it intellectually, because this is also the period of time I was learning about in school. This is the period of time that my parents' generation grew up in. But I was already born in an independent country, and it was just something about it that I knew theoretically, but not in practice. So there are a lot of details in the paintings that I show in the bakery right now that come from this whole museum of clothes that I collected before. One of the most important things for me in these works were just to add at least one certain thing that I found important that in this whole story, or maybe something that is charged more with the story itself, something that I maybe heard from the person I was visiting. Also, one of the elements in my paintings, they just basically come from like really domestic things, everyday life, furniture, like devices that we were looking at. I think I also don't really depict these objects particularly precisely, because I think they are also in flux in time, and I don't see them anymore, or I never saw them as only functional. For me, it's like I have this distance from these objects. And I think that's shown in my painting as well. I'm kind of transcending the archive in a way, like it does, it's like, yeah, it's like a cartotheque of imagery. It's like how the exhibition is also called Traversing Discrete Loci. So Loci stands for places, for like imaginary rooms. It's a term that comes from the method of Loci, which is the method of just kind of imagining yourself walking through the spaces and basing some of your information there, so then it's easier to remember. I'm trying to find a way in painting that would be sort of like a method for me to learn about a specific time or a specific idea. And certainly I'm very drawn to historical discourse, and I'm trying to really find out my relationship with the past. I think also it reflects on my country's change over the past 30 years, and we like my family has also, of course, they were using all these devices. They know precisely this history, but yeah, that just went, like everybody wanted to change it. Like everybody wanted to get the new things, and I saw it also how we're just, yeah, doing things very differently. And it's just very, very uncanny and also strange to see someone just like really stucking on this moment of time, of history. But I find it like important. I think it's like it's an attempt to basically write this history, which is not in textbooks, you know, and yeah, that might be even like a better way of showing this history, of acknowledging this history. I think archiving is capable of doing this. Especially material archives like this, it sort of puts you in a very different position, in a very different time, directly, like you have this relation with it directly, just like touching these objects, or yeah, maybe even seeing this man just like dressed up, how he is actually dressed up at home, and yeah. I think a lot of people are also scared about this, about the way he is approaching this reality, because this has been like a bit of taboo at one point, or maybe a topic that nobody wants to dig in anymore. But at the same time, like at least looking at what Lithuanian artists are drawn to is like this general feeling of kind of art being charged by this history, and we are still reflecting on it, and I feel a part of that.